Hi, this is Abhishek Sengupta and welcome back. You are listening to Abhishek Sengupta Audio Talks. Now, we are here with another episode of Knowledge Talks. Now, in this episode, we have with us someone special. It's Luis Colon. Now, Luis is based out in Texas, USA. He is a dynamic entrepreneur and the driving force behind a suite of successful companies that cater a diverse range of needs in the home services and digital marketing sectors. As a founder of Mr.Windows Doors, Mr.homepros, WhiteRock Solutions, and LC Consulting, Luis has established himself as a leader committed to excellence, innovation, and customer satisfaction. As Luis is here with us, we have taken a wonderful and a very interesting topic: business and building brands. First and foremost, Luis, welcome to our show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Luis, I'm going straight to the point. My point number one is, how is building a brand important for business? Now, we all know that business is all about branding. The companies and the people spend a lot of money, a lot of dollars on branding. Branding really is an asset for any of the startup founders or the businesses. What do you think? What is your take on this? Over to you, Luis.
Yeah, so to me, building a brand is very simple, and you have to make it simple, or else you're going to complicate it. I look at it as building a house. And every house, you need to have what? A solid foundation. You need a clear vision. You need a step-by-step plan to bring it all together. So to me, that's how I see building a brand.
Well, that's pretty interesting. You have rightly pointed out, and it's a wonderful example that you have taken, that it's like building a house. House is, first of all, it requires a solid foundation. Without the right foundation, a house is going to tremble and crack down and it will fall, definitely. But it also requires a step-by-step, processes to build a house. House is just not brick and mortar. You need a lot of columns, lot of pillars, and, the right casting of, etc., etc. So that all brings the house. So do you think it's the similar way is for the building a brand or something like that, for the business owners and something? So brand is something like that. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're correct. And I want to define, like what's the foundation, right? Because let's just pull back the layers a little further on that for other business owners. You need to ask yourself, okay, what's your identity, right? We need to kind of identify that. Who are you? What are your values? What's your mission? What's even your vision? Now, what also makes you unique and better than the other options, right? So now imagine yourself at a party, right? Or an elevator, right? And someone asks you, who are you? What's your company? What's your brand? What would you say? It needs to be very simple, and you need to define it simple. And if you don't, then you're overcomplicating it. And that's going to be a problem for you, because if you can't answer those fundamental questions real quick and basically in an elevator pitch, imagine with a customer in front of you, whether that's an in-home service, right? Like what I specialize is in-home services. You need to be able to identify with them because they have a lot of competition in any area, whether you're in Houston, Texas, or you're overseas. You need to be able to identify that. And then also know your audience. Who you're trying to reach. What are their needs? What do they want? What's their pain points, right? This is like figuring out who to invite to your party. You need to figure all these things out and line them up. And once you answer those questions, that's when you'll begin to see success and knowing who you are as an organization.
Well, amazing. I have taken down two important points. First and foremost, it's all about your identity, whatever you said right now. All about your identity, your values, your mission and vision. And secondly, what makes you unique? So I think what makes us unique or anyone unique is something which is one of the key pointers for branding. And the second point, which I've taken it down from whatever you were conversing at this point of time, was it's starting out of competition, because there are too much competition everywhere in the world, let it be in your country, in our country, or anywhere in the world. So right branding really helps us to stand out of competition. What can have an edge over the competitors if you have the right type of branding. So some of the very good pointers which we got from you. Now this takes me to the second point. Now, what are the processes one should follow for building a brand. Now, building a brand is not a one-time exercise, I must say. It goes on and on. It takes up time. When the market starts recognizing you, etc., etc. So it takes a right strategy. That's point number one, and one have to be patient with it. It's not built overnight. Even if you spend thousands of dollars, still it is not done overnight. So could you please let us know what are the processes one should follow for brand building? Over to you, Lewis.
Yeah, so you need to develop the brand's journey, right? Craft a story of building, because if you don't craft the story of who you are, then you don't, to me at least, and this is all my opinion, then you're not going to have a brand. So you need to have that company story, that company, who you are, what your mission is, kind of similar to the foundation. So really foundation plays a role in the process of building this. What's the brand narrative? What's the brand experience? Right? And then you also want to spread the word of your brand around.
Well, three important points which I got. First and foremost, you need to have a story, because your story has got amazing power. It's always say the storyteller roots. Let it be from the politicians to leaders to religious leaders to business leaders, whosoever.
Right.
One thing is common amongst all is they are good storytellers. So story is point number one, which you have said. Second is the brand narrative. Now, brand narrative, I personally feel that brand narrative is very important, because what you are thinking about the brand may or may not be the same what your customers thinking about your brand. So your brand narrative has to be absolutely clear, so that what you are thinking and what your customers are thinking has to be absolutely same. Both of us need to be on the same page. So any other process would you like to quote on this, Lewis?
Well, for sure, it's going to be the brand identity and the visual identity. That's going to be your logos, colors, your fonts, any other like visual elements. That's very important. You want to be consistent in all that, right? And then also like guidelines on those. You want to make sure all your marketing, your communications, your emails, your signatures, your company shirts, your logos, your vehicles, your company fleet of trucks, your website, all of this has to have a seamless experience. So no matter where they see you is consistent. Because if you're going to be especially advertising, you want that to stick in the homeowners or your clients or prospects, that you want them to remember you. And the easiest way to do that is be consistent with all your marketing channels.
Yeah, I personally feel exactly right. That consistency has got a lot of impact, because many times I have seen the startup founders, even the business owners, they spend a heavy amount of money and time and do a lot of marketing, and it dies a natural death. Because that's something. Because people, it's always said that what's out of sight is out of mind. So if I see a certain brand over a period of time again and again, definitely I'll develop a perception. Now, if I stop seeing that brand after a couple of weeks, probably I'll not remember that. That's a regular thing. That's all multinational companies, I must say, any of the companies which you take across, one thing they do is they are very consistent with the brand building activities. It may not be just advertisement. It could be anything. It could be, putting their presence in certain trade shows. It could be putting their presence in different kind of advertorials. It could be anything. Even nowadays, social media has come up with a lot of options for branding. It could be video. The companies are nowadays taking omni-channel branding. That's something which is picking up. Let that be in form of videos, carousels. It could be in form of the blogs. It could be in form of advertisements. It could be traditional form of advertisement. It's going on like that. The omni-channel approach is one. And secondly, you have rightly mentioned that brand identities need to be seamless, because your logos, your vehicles, your every sort of communication, emails has to be seamless. And as soon as person sees your email or any of the communication which is going out from you, person can really click the person's mind and say that, okay, this particular communication is from that company or from that person. So that's something which is important, number one, which is essential, and it is indispensable. You cannot go without that.
I want to add to that. Brand building you probably heard this phrase, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, dedication. You're going to have to continuously improve on your processes. You have to have the right approach, be willingness to learn and adapt. And if you could do those things, then you're going to be able to build a strong brand that will help your business stand out and connect with your audience.
Now, some of the very good pointers which we got from you. No, I think it's a very good pointer which you have just picked. I mean, it's not a sprint and marathon. I must say it's a combination of both. Sometimes we have to sprint, sometimes we have to run the marathon. It's like that. But long-term perspectives are very important while planning a branding activity or planning a branding for any of the companies or even for the individuals, because whatever we gain in the short term gets lost in the short term. So that's a very important proverb which goes that if we raise something in short term, we cannot retain it for very long. So one has to focus on someone's long-term goals, long-term activities, long-term planning is very important. The repetitive branding activities are important, and of course, what you have rightly mentioned, consistency. Consistency is something. It's a very powerful tool. I must say, it's a very underrated. People do a lot of artwork. People do a lot of spend a lot of money in different activities. But one thing most of them do not consider to a huge extent is consistency. Because if the consistency is not there, everything whatever you do is lost. So long-term perspective is there, which takes the form of marathon. But of course, at times, short-term perspectives are also required, especially when in case you would like to certain sales, or you would like to make your presence felt in certain things. So the sprinter is also required. So mix and match of both in the right way, in the right perspective. It's something which can really make a difference.
That's right. I agree with that.
Right. Now, this takes me to my third point. What are the do's and don'ts of branding? Branding, I personally feel that branding is a very sensitive activity. A small mistake can really spoil your brand. So one has to be very careful what one should do and what one should not do. One should prohibit something which is prohibited in branding, because again, it depends from industry to industry and company to company, because every industry has their own standards. Every company have their own plannings like that. So could you please let us know what are the do's and don'ts of planning for a business or for a startup founder or for any of the person who's looking forward to build a brand? Over to you, Louis.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need to be authentic and transparent, right? People value genuineness, so you want to show your true self, right? Your values, your company values, the people in your team. You want to also express that and show that through pictures, through images, through videos, and what's the motivation? And I think as long as you can do that, that people will feel that, right? Especially if you're doing ads or social media, they will feel that. You want to also focus on customer values. What your brand exists to serve what, right? And you need to answer that question. And once you answer that question, that's when you'll be able to start providing solutions to that, right? What problems they have, and then your job is to solve those problems, exceed their expectations, make their lives better, right? That's the whole point, whether it's a product or a service. You want to be consistent. Obviously, like we keep on talking, and that's going to be a theme throughout this whole entire thing, is you need to be consistent. And this happens to be one of the easiest things to do, but most people fail. You need to be reliable. And if you're not reliable as a company, then your competitors will beat you to the punch. Because if you don't show up, someone will show up for you. And I think that's very, very important. And you need to be able to adapt to win, right? That's my motto here, adapt to win. Anything happens, that's what I say to my team. Hey, something goes wrong, well, let's adapt to win. Let's figure a way out of this. And when you're building a brand, that has to be the motto around the entire organization. And obviously invest in storytelling, like we talked about before, right? You want to make sure you have some type of company story that resonates with the people. So those are the do's of building a brand.
Okay, I have taken down total 5 points, some very important points which I have taken it down. First and foremost, you have rightly mentioned that one has to be authentic. People love genuineness. If you're faking it, you are not doing anything. People are, smart enough to find out whether you are authentic, genuine, or a fake. So first and foremost, a very important point is you have to be authentic. People love being genuine, number one. Number two, you have to ask a very important question. Your brand exists for what? What exactly? Because it is always said that every business is providing some kind of solution to existing problem or is enhancing a solution. So you have to first notify or first pinpoint the problem which you are having, and you have to provide the right solution, and the brand can really help you to do that. So the purpose of existence, or at times what we call as the Japanese concept, ikigai, the concept of ikigai, the purpose of being. So that's what is the purpose of your being? What's the purpose of your existence? That's number two.
Correct.
Number three is definitely reliability. You have rightly mentioned that most of the people really fail to, encash this point. They really miss this point, reliability. Person, your customers can rely on you. Your audience can really rely on you. Yes or no. In case it is yes, you are true. In case it is no, you have to revoke. There is no second thought on this. And number four is adapt to win. This is a dynamic world. Absolutely, the world is dynamic. It is changing every moment, every point. It is changing. So one have to adopt. Change is the law of nature. We know that. That's a famous proverb. Is that change is the law of nature. So it is important. Then you have to adopt, and you adopt for what? Not for losing, but to win. So that is something which is important. So the changes will be there, and of course you have to change your strategy. You have to adopt to the change, and definitely you have to do that so that you can face the challenge in a better way. And in other words, adopt to win. And the fifth point which you have mentioned is definitely storytelling. Every brand has got a story. Every brand has got a story. People love story, and it is important that you make a story in such a way that people relate with their life. If someone is telling some kind of story which is of no use to me or is no ways related to me, so probably I'll lose interest. So probably there the branding fails, there the brand activity fails too. That doesn't make an impact to the customer or the target audience. So storytelling is a very powerful tool. Lewis, could you please also let us know about the don'ts, because we have seen what are the do's and how about the don'ts for branding?
Yeah. So definitely don't make unrealistic promises, right? Don't overhype your products or services. You need to set realistic expectations and deliver on them consistently. Again, we're going back to consistency. So this one you see a lot, especially with new companies, is they like to copycat their competitors, right? You need to find your own unique voice, right? You need to stand out from the crowd. Don't be a follower, right? You need to set your own track. And I think that's a big issue when you see new companies. They don't have a voice, and so they try to mimic what others are doing. But the problem when you're doing that is you're not finding your own voice. So when customers see, if you're, I'll bring it back to my case. If we're in the home and here's company A, us, here's company B. Company B, let's assume that they don't have a voice. They're just mimicking what's in the industry. The customer, in this case would be a homeowner, they're going to see the difference, right? They're going to see that we have our own voice, right? We have our own story, whereas what makes them unique, what makes them better than the other option. So you need to build your own, and that's a big one, especially with newer companies. They're just trying to be like everyone else, but you need to disrupt your own industry, be different, be that purple cow. And don't neglect your online presence. It's a big one. We're very active on our Facebook page. Now, we don't get a lot of leads from Facebook, truth be told. We don't. But it's a great place to be active. We post before and afters. We're very consistent in that. Again, we don't get a lot of leads from it, but when a homeowner is browsing the internet to choose a provider in one of our services, they're going to see, wow, this company is engaging. They might not like the post. They might not comment on them because we're a home service company, right? People want to see dancing cats, right? No one wants to go ahead and start commenting on, window projects. I mean, this is not, at least for us. We do get obviously some, but for the most part, that's just not how it is. But once they see that, then they say, okay, wow, this company is busy. They're consistently posting. They're active. They're engaging with their audience, with the people. So let at least give them a shot versus one who it's basically no one's there, right? It's a ghost town, right? They don't post. Their last post was 2 years ago. Well, what happened in the past 2 years, right? So definitely don't neglect your online presence, and don't ignore customer feedback. Listen to the good, listen to the bad, listen to the ugly. Pay attention, because the customers are going to tell you whether you're doing something right, whether you're doing something wrong, and whether you need to adapt your organization to fit, right? So don't be afraid of listening to negative, and obviously taking the positive, but don't be afraid to listen to the bad reviews that you may get, because really it's just telling you, it's just a gauge and it's just a snapshot. So all you need to do is identify it, rectify it, move forward. And then this was something I always do. I've been doing it since I was 16 years old when I wanted to get into marketing. Don't be afraid to experiment. I test everything. I'm not afraid to test. I test and I test and I test again. When colleagues and other business owners tell me, oh, don't try that marketing avenue. It's terrible. We don't get good feedback. I'd say, oh, you know what? I'm definitely going to try that. Right. Because just because it didn't work for you doesn't mean it's not going to work for me. Right. So I have to test and test and test, and then I'll be the judge of that. So I hope that makes sense.
Amazing, really amazing, I must say. Again, I have taken down some of the pointers while you were saying. First and foremost, which I have noted is do not make unrealistic promises, because that's the killer. You promise whatever you can deliver, else hold on. Don't overstep it. So this is number one. A very interesting pointer which you have mentioned is don't be a copycat. Because this is, I have also seen, I have been mentoring few of the startups, and I have, the biggest issue with them is that, okay, I have seen one of my friend is doing this, he's successful. So I will copy that because I'll also do that. They don't have any idea why they are doing that. They don't know what is the uniqueness, what is the USP of their products. No, they are not aware of their market. They do not know even what audience they are targeting, but they are doing it because someone else is doing that. Someone else succeeded in doing that. So this is something which is a problem everywhere I have seen, and I have to really work hard. I must say, I have to really make them, understand why you should not be doing. Now, building your uniqueness is definitely something. 5 figures are different. 5 figures are absolutely not the same. Even God has not created two peoples alike. So it is important that you find your own uniqueness. It's not that, copycat is important. It's not important at all. It's not like product. Okay, you are making this and I make a copy of this and, I put it in the market. No, business is not like that. You can create your own product. You can create your own services. You can deliver your own services, but at your own way. This creates a brand. The way I'm delivering my talk is completely different from what others are delivering. Definitely like that, because again, two talks cannot be same. Persons cannot be same. So every person have their own uniqueness, USP, and that's what is one of the important founding stone for branding. Next point is neglecting online. Online or the digital marketing is a big space right now, and it is growing leaps and bounds. And with this AI stuff which is coming up, and I must say AI is just it's a tip of an iceberg. Entire iceberg is still yet to be revealed. So one must not neglect the online presence. Online branding is a great tool. And second thing is that you can pinpoint your target, because if you're doing it in a traditional way, it goes and reaches to many people who are not even interested. You cannot filter it out. But in case of online marketing or online branding, you can pinpoint the target. Pinpoint your target audience. It can be in form of age. It can be in form of their income group. It could be geographical target. Everything you can do, anything and everything is possible. That pinpoint has got a lot of impact, point number one. And here the materialization is also very high. And third advantage for this is it is cheaper and reasonable as compared to the traditional way of branding and marketing. Last but not the least, customer feedback. People are scared about customer feedback. I have seen even in my industry, even over here also, when the people say, okay, I got something wonderful for you. Okay, yeah, please write it down, sir. Why don't you send me an email? But someone says, see, well, Mr. XYZ, your products are not good. These are the faults which I get. And I have even seen the startup founders running away from the customers. That should not be. It always said that, a happy customer says 5, an unhappy customer says 25. 5 times high is the impact of a negative review. 5 times. So 5 times is a very big number. So these are some of the don'ts for the branding activity, some of the very good pointers which you have mentioned. So this takes me to my last point. What are the negative pointers I must say, it's a bit different about what we discussed. What are the negative pointers one must keep in mind while branding? By this, there are negative factors which at times harm the brand. Okay, there are a lot of factors we must while planning a branding activity or while planning a branding strategy. One must keep in mind so that it doesn't go in a negative way. The competitors are sitting to find out what are the fault in your branding activity and what are the faults in your ongoing activity or probably your strategy. So what are the pointers a startup founder or a business owner must keep it in mind? The negative pointers and how should one avoid them? Over to you, Lewis.
I think you need to monitor what you're doing. And it's very simple as that. What you don't measure, you can't manage. So if you're measuring feedback and everything we discuss, you're going to know what's working, what's not working, because people are going to tell you. So I think, to me, yes, your competitors are like wolves waiting in the forest for you to mess up. We know that. And that's okay, because competition keeps you on your toes. So I encourage competition. I like competition. I feed off that, right? So for me, the way I look at it is I'm paving our own path. I'm not even worrying about what other companies are thinking, what they're doing. I don't care. I care about giving my customers the best experience possible. And if a homeowner or a customer doesn't choose us, it's not that company's fault. It's our fault. We didn't do our job. Somewhere along the way throughout the sales process, we dropped a ball, and we need to take ownership of that and identify what went wrong. So to me, I'm very inward. I find, okay, what we could have done better. I don't make excuses. I want solutions. And that's how we're able to grow as fast as we've been doing for over the years, for about 15 years, because of that. So focus, again, this is my opinion, focus on what you're doing. Obviously, you want to keep tabs of what your competitors are doing, what new products they're offering. Obviously, those are givens, but it shouldn't be your main focus. Focus on you.
Amazing. Really amazing. I have again just taken down a few of the pointers. Point number one is one have to monitor. What you can measure, definitely you can manage. One which the thing which you cannot measure, it's very difficult to manage. So this is a very important pointer. So we have to also keep an tab on what is working and what is not working. Many a times we focus on what is not working instead of finding out what is not working. We keep on doing the same. So something which we have to measure what is working. One has to clearly demarcate that. Number two. Third is that care for your customers. This is very important. Customers are the key. So we have to really take care of it. So we have to really find out what is working for them, number one. And if something the customers are not liking, we have to really introspect ourselves and find out what exactly went wrong. Because somewhere we failed. It's not someone else as well. We failed, and we have to introspect and find out what went wrong. And once we find out what went wrong, definitely we can rectify it in any way. Number two. And last is focus on what we are doing. Because you have rightly pointed out that competitors are eyeing us in every possible way. But if we focus concretely on what we are doing and how we can improve ourselves and how we can reach the market in a better way, how we can reach the customers in a better way, probably that's one of the finest branding activities that we can do. So some of the very good pointers which we have got from you, Lewis. Now, we are at the end of this wonderful discussion. Any closing remarks would you like to give, Lewis?
Yeah, I think for any entrepreneurs out there, the key I find is with most people when they want to start a business is they overthink it. And I think what you need to do is just make it happen. Just go. You're going to make mistakes along the way. I've made more mistakes than not, but that's okay. So if you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to build a company, you need to make it happen. Just go. And also you want to, and you should invest in sales training as well. Because if you invest in sales training, you're going to have confidence when dealing with homeowners, and you'll be able to answer a lot of these questions that we've been asking each other is, okay, why us? Why should a homeowner or a customer choose me? What's in it for me? WIFM is what it's called. What's in it for me? That's what the homeowner or a customer is thinking. So you need to be able to answer these. And once you have that, this will become so much easier. There are 4 steps to a sale. And once you master this, this can be used to anything, whether that's you offering a business or service, or you're an employee of a company and you want to work your way up. Everyone's selling somebody, right? Whether you're selling your boss or you're selling a customer, right? Step 1 in a 4-step sale process is you're going to sell yourself. People are going to perceive you as what? Likable and trustworthy, right? The next step, you're going to sell their problem. Customer perceives their current problems must be resolved. And now, what's the next step? 3, sell our solution. The customers perceive our solution solves their problem uniquely and better than the other options. And finally, the next step is sell our price. Customer perceive price is lower than the value, and the terms make it easy to buy, whether that's offering financing, payment plans, etc. If you solve these 4 steps, now this can be broken down much deeper, but in this conversation, we're just doing quick 4 steps. You will land more sales than not. If you miss any of these, if you skip some of these steps, then you won't get the sale. And the sale could be landing a contract. The sale can be offering a homeowner or a customer buying your product. But if you can solve these 4, you'll be better off than most of your competitions, because most of your competitions are not investing in sales solutions. They're not investing in sales training, none of it. So if you can do this, you go very far in business.
That's really amazing. You have really stressed, at the right point, sales training, because, I always say that salespeople are the real ambassador or the brand ambassadors of any of the companies, because they are the people who go and meet with the external stakeholders. Everyone is a brand ambassador, but sales are the really important people. So this 4th step, which you have rightly mentioned, is I must say, it's amazing. It covers almost everything. So one should not overthink, which you have said. Just do that. And people will make mistakes, and everything is a learning lesson. And that's how we all learn. You learn, I learn, every one of us learn. So some of the very good pointers which we got, and it is the end of this wonderful discussion. I want to carry it further, but probably some other day, some other time, we will again take this up. Some of the very good pointers, some of the branding, what do's and don'ts of branding we have learned, and amazing. So if any of you would like to connect with Lucas, I will give the link in the description of this episode so that you can connect with him. I'll give the link of his Instagram profile. So that's how we got connected, and we are recording this wonderful episode. And you all can connect and follow his wonderful post, which he keeps on doing on a regular basis. And to my Apple Podcast listeners, I request for a review. I want an honest review how my podcast is helping you and enhancing your life. I'll be back with better such episodes. Till then, stay tuned, stay connected. Have a great day. And thank you so much, Louis, for being a part of the show.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.